So I've got a couple of questions before we get started. Who here knows what Chainlink is and what Chainlink does? Keep your hand up if you know what Chainlink Keepers is and what Chainlink Keepers does. There's a lot of hands disappearing very quickly. Cool. Another question here. Who here has actually staked and earned yield on a token in DeFi? They've actually put some money and earned a yield. There's a few hands there. Beautiful. Now, out of this lot here who had those hands up, who has taken out a collateralized loan, has received an LP token that then pushes forward into to change for another token to then earn yield, whilst that's giving a huge amount of APR. We've still got a hand holding up. Cool. And then with that, short the price at a leveraged position and then manage a collateral to debt ratio so that you end up in a delta neutral position. Do we have any hands? No. Cool. So the fun part about gravity finance is that things like that you don't actually need to understand how to do. The new product silos that I'll be talking about in a second will sort of help do along that. So getting into gravity finance, well, what are we? I should probably get started with that first before I get excited about the other things. We're actually a decentralized exchange, so there's that has given all of the tokens through through emissions that have provided fair distribution. So we're fully distributed now already across with all the tokens. So there's no VC capital that's come in and sucked up all the tokens to try and manipulate you for profits. We also provided yield farms originally with the tokens. That's what also came part of the emissions. We run a launchpad program as well to help out other projects that are wanting to get started and just sort of generate that. I think the most impressive part actually about Gravity so far right now is actually our admin fee sharing and how we go about our admin fees. So whilst having an exchange and other services that are coming along, we'll be charging admin fees, a small percentage, and we do something interesting with those. I'll go about it into a second. I know we've talked about what DeFi is and some of the advantages. I'll just quickly burn through it just so we can do it. Cool thing about DeFi is that you can transfer funds in seconds. We're not waiting for banks to try and process transactions that can sometimes take up to days. It also means you can hold your money in a secure wallet, which means not your keys, not your crypto. We've all gone about that before. And it just eliminates those fees once again. So it's going to keep everything sort of in the cost down, which is an important part, because when you start transferring a lot in DeFi, I know a lot of you have probably tried entering into earn yield, things can get pretty expensive pretty quickly as well. And the best thing about DeFi is that anybody can access it. Anybody that has an internet connection can get a hold of this technology. So what are some yields that are already possible in DeFi? Well, depending on your risk catalog and what you want to do in your risk profile, you could do something like the AVE USDC deposit. Last time I checked, you're getting 1.28% interest. That is on a stable coin that's tethered to the price of the US dollar. Not bad if you're comparing it to your bank where you might be getting 0.005% on your interest. Not too bad. Up the top there, we've got a My3 CRV pool, almost 19% interest. Those do come with extra risks that you'd have to look at. And for another example is our friends over at DeFi Basket are offering a stablecoin maxi. So not just USDC, you can do things like the Japanese dollar and all the rest of it to get those yields. So what do we actually want to accomplish in our crypto wallets and what do we want to do? Accumulating blue chips is something I personally think is very important. And those two blue chips, as far as I'm concerned, and a lot of the Gravity community, is Bitcoin and Ethereum. If I was to ask anybody in this audience, what are the two most likely cryptos you think will still be around in 10 years, I'm sure these would probably be the answers for a lot of people. So how does that tie into Gravity? What does Gravity actually do with that? Gravity's admin fees are actually evenly split 50-50 between Bitcoin and Ethereum. So when we charge you a certain admin fee for swapping or using any of our other services as well, 50% of it's going to get split into Ethereum. This is going to be evenly distributed to the holders. So rather than having to stake your token, for example, so that you can earn a bit of it back, rather than having to do anything, you literally go into the government's contract and you could just redeem your Ethereum there that you have for passively holding it. So the bigger it grows, the more Ethereum that's going to get earned and put into that. The other 50% is then turned into Bitcoin. Bitcoin's a little bit more stable than some of the assets, you could say. Whilst it's going up, usually when it goes down, it doesn't go down as much as the other currencies. So the 50% that turns into Bitcoin backing means that we're actually building a decentralized base level price of what the Gravity token is. So you can actually go in and burn your Gravity tokens for a set amount of Bitcoin. So if the prices were starting to go down on the token and people were selling, there is arbitrage opportunity there for people to actually swap their tokens out and make a bit of a profit, which means you can build a stabilized form of a price where it can't go too low. So in terms of partners and collaborations, we've got many collaborations of people we've worked with. These are the four that I've just picked out of something to be interesting. So we've got Umbria Bridge. This is just used obviously on the website just to help people bridge their assets from network to network. We're currently on Polygon at the moment with intentions to move to a lot of other chains as well within that DeFi space, but we just started off with Matic just as a good area to sort of get rolling in terms of how cheap the transaction fees can be and automating those things. Chainlink, we're working directly with Chainlink and the Chainlink's Keepers contract. Essentially, in a big rundown, Chainlink Keepers helps monitor and do a bunch of processing off-chain, and then eventually it can jump on-chain when a certain parameter that you might have set within your program is hit, and then triggers the transaction. So it's a way to reduce fees drastically whilst still automating things in the space as well. We're also partners with Polygon, so we've actually part of Polygon's grant recipients as well, so we've received a bit of a payout from them as well to be able to help build these products that Gravity is making, Solos being the new one. And we're also partners with CypherD as well. It looks like we've cut it off the screen there, but they're essentially a non-custodial wallet. And being a non-custodial wallet, they're actually the first one in the US to be able to have a Visa card. If you don't understand what that means, think if you had a MetaMask wallet, but you could directly cash out to Visa through that whilst being non-custodial, which can lead down the path of some pretty cool things in the future. So this is the new product that's coming out. This is the thing I'm excited about. If you come and ask me anytime, I can ramble about this for literal hours. I've already done it with people here yesterday and today. So what is Silos? Silos is essentially a DeFi automation tool. So pretty well, you go out there and you can automate different strategies and different ways to make money. In terms of what we can do with it, I think the most interesting thing is that whilst I explained the collateralized loan before and not many people had their hands up, is that you can deploy certain strategies that have been made and developed by other people by pressing one button. So before I go to that slide, a lot of the strategies, like I said, in terms of the borrowing and lending optimization, liquidation prevention, did anybody actually get funds liquidated from borrowing a collateralized loan when everything went down the shitter? No, no one. Beautiful. That's good. If entering into certain strategies, you can also have that happen as well. So we can be prevented from liquidating using Chainlink Keepers. It can constantly monitor every 2 seconds to stop you from having your loans taken away from you because you haven't met a repayment if you've got a loan that's been taken out. Let's see whether this plays or not. I don't think that's going to be moving. That's okay. What this was going to be was a video showing one of our strategies. So in Silos, we develop different strategies, the actual developers themselves, and from there, those strategies can then be deployed by general public or whoever they want for it in a very easy way. This was going to be a side-by-side comparison video. So what you needed to know to be able to do, and in a manual process, is quite a significant amount. It would take you over 10 minutes to enter into this certain DeFi strategy to be earning and optimizing your yield in what would be called a delta neutral position, which means essentially you're exposed to no risk except for third-party issues of like a site going down or something like that. If you were to be doing that with Gravity instead, it would be happening significantly faster. It would be one page. You've got 2 token transactions, 3 tokens transactions for most of them. You approve your wrapped ETH, you put your ETH in or whatever coin it may be, and it will instantly go in and start earning yourself yield and going from that. Whereas the other one can be multiple pages, multiple transactions. For example, this one was 8 transactions to do it, and you're flipping between 4 to 5 pages. You need to know what a collateral to debt ratio is. You need to know how to manage that. You need to be awake to manage that. Chainlink's Keepers automates all of that for you, where you don't have to think about it. Here's a quick look at Silos and what we actually have out there that will be coming out very soon, within 2 weeks. We're currently just in the private beta testing at the moment. So this is what your screen would look like on the website. Up here, you can look at your strategies. They'll show you what your APR is. They'll show you what you're earning. They'll show you what you have to deposit. So what token you might have to own beforehand. All you'd be tapping is you'd view the strategy, and then you'd take it into the part where you deploy it. So this is what your deployment page looks like. Eventually, you'll be, for this example, for example, we're putting DAI in. We're going to put the DAI into the strategy. That's going to earn us yield for whatever that strategy might be. Most of our strategies as well will come with preset parameters of cool things that you can do with your cash once it's started. So looking on the right-hand side here, there's going to be some different silo parameters. You're going to be able to set harvest rewards and choose where you want them to go. So say if you're starting to receive rewards somewhere from a farm and you want to send them off to someone else, you can do that. That'll be part of the majority of these. You can also send it back into different silo strategies. So this unlocks another level of being able to automate and deploy strategies where you don't necessarily have to think about it, set it and forget it, and it'll start doing that. So what can we actually do to optimize our yields using silos? So there's different little areas that can actually optimize it. In terms of treasuries and people's treasuries, who here owns an NFT project? Couple shows of hands here. Cool. So if you've got spare capital sitting on the side of the NFT project, you could be happily putting your extra capital into a DeFi space, even if it's just earning a small yield percentage. And if you were to have an action that you wanted to take, within 2 seconds, the whole silo can be unraveled, completely automated. If something was to go wrong with the system and it flags, the silo would be automatically unraveled and your DeFi would be safe. So the most important part here is knowing that if you're in any of these areas and you're wanting to optimize your yield or you have spare cash sitting around, you could actually be relatively safe in what you do, knowing that Chainlink keepers will monitor and do all of that as well. So this is the phrase I like to say to a lot of people when we start talking about silos in terms of DeFi strategies. I'm sure we've all got different ways in which we can get yield. Some people like to hunt across the web to find the best yield and do their thing. But in terms of what silos can actually do, if you can think it, it can be automated. This is what this tool does. It automates quite literally anything that you wanted to, depending on your coding knowledge or what has been made previously, to be able to deploy those strategies. So here's just a few really basic ones that I myself thought of that will also most likely be in the catalog as well when we release to public coming soon. So here's a really basic, simple one. Dollar cost averaging. Who here dollar cost averages at the moment? Couple hands, cool, that's good to see. It's a good way to accumulate funds. What silos could do for you quite easily is you could load any type of coin you wanted in, whatever you wanted, and say, hey, at this certain time or day, I want to buy 17% Matic, 17% Gravity, and 33% of Ethereum and Bitcoin each with those funds. You can put the funds in there, let it do its thing, okay? So that'd be automated. You don't have to wake up at 12 o'clock when you think it's the best time to be purchasing for the day or the week to dollar cost average in. Silos can just do that all for you. Another one would be just converting a really basic one, a yield token, into something else. So say you're actually in a farm and you're earning, dog token 1, and you want to actually capitalize on the profits you've made there and turn it into something else, you can do that very easy and automated. You could load that into a silo and that'll just do it for you, rather than every hour or day that you might come back to harvest those rewards and do it. This will be automated through with the Chainlink Keepers contract. So we've just looked at dollar cost averaging and then converting into something else. So on top of that, you could earn yield, and then rather than swapping into a different token or something, you could turn it into USDC, and then from that, you could then deploy into a dollar cost averaging strategy. So you see how you can start forwarding into addresses and new silos, and the processes of automation can get pretty complicated, but easy for you to do in the silos. Other thing about it at the moment is that if you have a strategy, you can submit it to our team. So this is when Silos launches. Essentially, like I said, if you can think it can be automated. All you need to be able to do, walk up to the developers, maybe not walk up to, maybe just talk to them on Discord or something like that. If you have an idea that can be automated that generates yield, the developers will sit there, will audit it, look at it, make sure it looks good, and then you can actually receive a percentage of the strategy's admin fees that are generated. So rather than a even 50-50 split of Ethereum and Bitcoin, some of that token might actually be going back to you. So if you're a developer and you know how to do these codings as well, there's even more incentive to be able to get into that. Obviously, talking with the team, you'll figure out what those actual price points might be. If you're not just an ideas person, but you've actually got the skills to code, because whilst the last one where you've just got ideas, you can also be a coder. You can actually create silos yourself. So the tool of silos actually makes it significantly easier to automate these strategies. And if you've got a bit of a clue as to how to code, I definitely don't. Some people here might do that. This is a really good way to actually find yourself complicated DeFi strategies that you're already doing and actually giving it to friends and family. So that when you actually make a silo and you automate a task, it will actually mint itself as an NFT. That means that you're owning it yourself. These tasks that are being done are actually done through your wallet through a smart contract. So you are deploying the smart contract. You're not putting your money into a platform and having the platform do that for you. What's actually happening with silos is that it's creating the smart contract itself and then deploying it, which means if you have something that you want to keep on the down low, something that's making a fair bit of extra yield, but you've got mum over in the corner saying, hey, I want to make a bit of money in crypto, in some DeFi, you could essentially push that out to your friends and family for them to use as well across the wallets without it being a publicly known silo. That's something you can do as well. Where else do we push that? Well, if you're a DAO, and you've got all of your token holders in a room and they all have a strategy in which they want to be able to develop and deploy into a DeFi strategy. Silos could allow them to check the wallet, for example, make sure that they're holding that certain token and being part of that DAO, and then unlocks a certain page on Silos for people to be able to enter into that DeFi strategy, press that one button deployment, deploy the strategy, and they're done. They don't have to do anything else except being part of your DAO. That also transfers to other things as well. That gives DAOs a lot of power. It means they can automate things for all their users. You need one smart cookie in the group and everyone else can follow along so long as they're trusted in order to, depending on what they want to do. So what can they actually do, the DAOs, for example? So silos, once again, if you can think it, it can pretty well be automated. Another good thought here is NFT sniping and hidden order book placements. With silos, you can easily automate your money to go into and sit on the sidelines and get ready to snipe an NFT. We've all seen it. We've all seen someone accidentally sell a Bored Ape for $10,000 or less because they fat-fingered a key and they've accidentally put not enough zeros. What you could do with silos is you could actually snipe your NFT prices, whether that's a trait, a rarity, or a collection, or a set amount of collections. You don't have to put the money in for anything. You could have 100 different NFTs that you want to purchase within a price point. You put that money there. But why would you just stop there? Why not have that money that's sitting on the sideline earning yield in the spare time? Your USDC could be off working somewhere in DeFi whilst you wait for that NFT to rock up. Every 2 seconds, Chainlink Keepers checks the contracts.